The California Department of Education is coming, I would say, dangerously close to declaring that merit itself, excellence itself, is a racist concept. I now want to talk about a California DOE, Department of Education report that has all these recommendations that are very startling. And it would be very startling if someone were to come from outside America and see that this is going on in America, in one of America's largest states. The first thing they want to do, they're proposing, is eliminating calculus in high school. And the reason for that is that they say that, well, we're not really sure that high school students need calculus. Really? I can just imagine you trying to say this to some, kid from China or India. If you said that in a Indian or Chinese school to teachers or students, they would think you were from Mars. We're living in a time where technology demands knowledge of math. There's a kind of worldwide competition to get ahead in this field. And here you've got people in the Department of Education saying calculus is kind of unnecessary. So why would they say that? Now, as you read into the report, you find more telling revelations. They don't like the idea of having advanced courses, not just in math, but in any subject at all. Why? Here's the bottom line. In California, 2004 to 2014, I'm now quoting the report, 32% of Asian American students were in gifted programs, compared with 8% of white students, 4% of black students, and 3% of Latin students. So this is the bottom line. The bottom line is that they're afraid that these kinds of gifted programs, tracking programs, excellence programs, demanding programs, tough math programs are disproportionately, another kind of classic term here, they're afraid that some groups are doing better than others. That's what it comes down to it. Now, they're declaring that this differential performance, the fact that some groups are doing better than others, shows that these programs are, quote, inequitable. Of course, what the results show is that some groups are academically better prepared, study harder, work harder, do more math problems, maybe have families that emphasize math problems more, are more eager to succeed. It shows all those obvious things which are manifest in the work. There was actually a study years ago by the Stanford sociologist named Dornbush, in which he said, there's really no mystery why Asian Americans are overrepresented in these gifted programs. They study a lot harder. So here you have a behavioral explanation for why groups do better. But for the California school system, this is a problem. And so what they want to do, instead of saying, hey, listen, why don't we try to raise the performance of black students and Latino students? Why don't we try to interest them more in math? Why don't we try to improve their test scores, have them become more competitive with the other groups? No, it's none of this. Let's get rid of the program. It's kind of like, let's get rid of the thermometer. That way it won't show you have a fever. I think what's happening here, and the reason all of this is now kind of reduced to race, is that for people who are doing badly in our society, race is their only merit. They've got nothing else to offer, and so they go, hey, I'm black. So the race becomes a badge of kind of self-worth. Race becomes the basis of self-esteem. It's actually, in a way, so pathetic, and it's a close mirror of what used to happen with white racism in the past. It's often pointed out that poor whites in the South were great defenders of slavery, even though they didn't benefit from it. So why would poor whites, who had no slaves, defend the slave system? The answer was that they liked, you may call it the aristocracy of color, that there was a sort of system in which even if you were a poor white, you were sort of on top of even the most educated black guy. Even the most educated free black was below you in social standing, so your race became a badge of how important you are. Race became your merit. And what I'm saying is the same thing is happening now, not with whites, but with minorities. And what you have is you've got these race activists playing to this and basically saying, listen, what matters about you is not how much you study. It doesn't matter how much effort you put in. It doesn't matter what your learning skills are. It doesn't matter what you can demonstrate on a test. Really, your self-esteem should be rooted in what you see when you look in the mirror, your skin color. So to me, this is a formula for pulling not just the Black students and the Latino students down, but all of American students down. And I'm reminded here of a poem that was written many years ago by a Black writer, Aimé Césaire. He's a champion of a movement that at that time was called Negritude. It was kind of a celebration of Blackness. This was a guy from the islands. And I want to read a verse from this poem because it seems to me to reflect the sensibility that's at work today. Here's what he says. Hurrah for those who never invented anything, for those who never explored anything, for those who never mastered anything. In other words, what he's basically saying is, yeah, it's true that minorities haven't really explored the world or invented modern medical solutions or gotten us to the moon or sent the Voyager out into orbit. What he's basically saying is, we've achieved nothing. But that's okay, because we're still great. Why? Because we're Black. And I'm sure he'd say if he were to meet me, because you're brown. But no, my brownness is not a basis of my self-esteem, nor should it be. It was Frederick Douglass who said, let the sun be proud of his achievement. Our race is something that is incidental. It's not important to who we are. It is the painted face, as someone else said in a little different context. The bottom line of it is our self-esteem should be based on what we can do, who we become, what we make of ourselves.